the way it goes. Just the way it goes. Degrees.
Sadistic Penguin Studios presents It's Getting Drafty in Here.
Drafty old barn.
The show of drafting random nonsense.
I choose business ethics.
And now, coming to you from his basement, a.k.a. Draft Headquarters, your host and draft master, Magnificent Stan.
Hello, welcome to episode 13 of It's Getting Drafty in Here. I am your host, Magnificent Stan, and today we'll be discussing my favorite topic in the world, professional wrestling. With me today, I'm going to go right down the line here. With me today, I have comic punk guy of Punk Driver. How you doing, buddy?
Doing as good as I always am. Good to be here.
Right.
Happy to be here.
Right on. That was funny. So real quick, what was your origin in wrestling? When did you start watching professional wrestling?
Oh man, a babysitter came over, and at the time it was towards the end of the WCW Invasion angle on Monday Night Raw, and I saw the Big Show end the 8-man tag match at the end of Monday Night Raw by just vertical suplexing Booker T, and after that, all the big impacts. That was it. We're in love. We're watching wrestling every single week.
So like roughly 20 years now then?
Oh yeah.
Cool. All right. Joining me for his 37th appearance on It's Getting Drafty in Here, my buddy Yumper from the Yumper and Sfo show on the Sadistic Penguin Studios. What's going on, Yumper?
How's it going, man?
Good. Same question. Origin of wrestling.
So mine actually started probably when I was 4 years old. I saw the '89 Royal Rumble, but I didn't see it live. We used to go to, our movie rental store, and they used to have the old Royal Rumbles up there that came out on VHS. So I would rent them and watch them along with the WWF WrestleManias, other pay-per-view, Survivor Series. And then my first live event watching through the pay-per-view was '92 SummerSlam. And since then I was completely hooked. Watching it, through the 2000s, and then kind of fell off and got back into it when Punk came back and Daniel Bryan, and then kind of fell off again. But yeah, I've been watching for almost 30 years, just
on and off the wagon. I think all wrestling fans do that. Everything you get complacent with the product, and then you just kind of step away for a bit, and then you go back when something new, something fresh happens, which rare, but still. These days, a little more fresh, a little more new, but a little different because everybody's jumping like maniacs. But but all right. And then this is his first appearance on any of my shows in the history of the world. The proprietor of Bologna Club, the winner of the what region was that? What were you in?
The 108 region, by the skin of my teeth.
Holy shit, he won?
I beat my wife by the skin of my teeth.
You beat your wife in the
tournament. Caveat:
I
beat my wife in an online poll.
Thank you.
I want that, in writing.
Thank you.
I didn't. I'm not.
I don't want to get canceled tonight.
No.
So
no. But yeah, thank you all.
No, you're right. Hi then, bud.
So origin of wrestling, right, for you?
I have 3 vivid memories, and Johnny, my cohort in the Chicago Sports Bums, we grew up together. We remember watching wrestling at my uncle's house. He would order the pay-per-views for all of our cousins. The first thing I remember is Earthquake ripping the chain off of Hulk Hogan, and that made me cry as a kid. I hated that. The other thing I remember was Papa Shango making people puke. And
That was the Ultimate Warrior. Yeah. He made his head bleed. Yeah.
And I also hated that. Yeah. So as a kid, those two memories are like seared in my brain. And the last one, the first pay-per-view I remember watching and like, you know, being ready to watch and like attentive for was the Caesar's Palace WrestleMania. With like Yokozuna and Hogan came back and all of that stuff.
That's considered by many as the worst WrestleMania.
It was terrible. It was terrible. But as a kid, I was like, we got a pay-per-view, and like, you know, it didn't matter because otherwise, like Yump said, it was going to the video store and renting the VHSs. That's a lot of my wrestling memories up until shout out Uncle Paul. He's my godfather. He would order the pay-per-views for us. So that was awesome. So I appreciate that.
Right on. So for me, I'm 42 years old. I started watching wrestling when it was probably like 3, somewhere around there. Andre and Hogan and you know, the very, very early remnants of like the takeover of Vince McMahon in the business. I was there for it. My dad took me to see Hogan Kamala at Rosemont in like 85.
Bless.
I was freaking hooked after that. So I'm like Yumper though. I've had some stretches where I just kind of like, oh fuck this for a while. Like I think I gave up for a while in the like the late 2000s up until like the mid 2010s. And then Daniel Bryan, again, just like you, Daniel Bryan brought me back into the business because I liked American Dragon. And when he rose in the WWE, that underdog story kind of just brought me back in, and I've stuck to it since. So that's hand.
Sorry to interrupt. Hand up. Yeah, like I missed like all of the Ruthless Aggression era for the most part.
I didn't watch most of that. Yeah, a lot. I've since watched it, going back and watched it, but
live. You know, like when you're a kid, you watch the Raws, the Nitros, everything live, and then up until a certain point, the Ruthless Aggression era, I'm a blind spot. That's a blind spot for me.
Sorry, Roxy, I'm old.
No, I totally get like missing that era and like just going to the video store. I remember like renting him and watching him. Like so, like the 1990 Survivor Series is probably like my favorite pay-per-view, just because I love that match with when the Undertaker debuted against the Hart Foundation, Coco Beware, and Dusty Rhodes. And I just love like how that end, even though like just how it ended. You guys see like Bret Hart kind of breaking out as a solos wrestler when he went against $1 Million Man in that match. That was like that's what got me hooked. And then when I saw them go at Wembley, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was a moment when they put the Intercontinental title match in the main event. I always wondered why they never put the belt on the main belt on Bulldog because he was able to carry that show. You would have thought he would have been able to carry more, you know.
I would say probably the promos. He was lacking in the mic work. The mic work for Bulldog was lacking. He had everything else. He could wrestle.
Everything else.
He had the look. Everything else was on point. But I would say probably the mic work for Bulldog.
So
the steroids didn't help either. That's right, John.
Because
but you got to think of the era because it was like the mid 90s when he was really starting to main event stuff with Shawn Michaels, stuff with Bret Hart, stuff with. Oops, I can grab that one better. And then that's when all the steroid trials started to happen. So they had to pull that guy to the side. That's when he went back to. That's when he went to WCW for a while.
That was part of the reason. And then like since Peter's a big Shawn Michaels mark, I'm a big Bret Hart mark. So like I read his book and
you're just gonna fight.
No, and he was basically in his book. He talks about like Bulldog was actually like high on crack.
Yeah,
like,
he had really bad muscle problems. He had problems with his shoulders, his back, everything, and medication, baby.
I mean, we could do a wrestling substance abuse draft, and
God,
we could do 30
rounds. Number one.
First pick Snake Roberts for sure.
Yeah, so that's a different draft.
Yep.
I think like when you go into a video store and you were able to grab anything, I got the Summer of Punk really late. Like I went when I got back to Chicago after being on the East Coast. I went to like the last video store rental place near my parents' house, and I was like, I just need something. I need wrestling. There was no like streaming services or anything. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I got was the Summer of Punk on DVD, and it was like the best thing I've ever seen. Yeah. And then surely, at that point, I think Punk had been back. He had been back at that point, and it was like falling right back in love with something that you thought left you a long time ago.
I'm adamant. I love the Summer of Punk, and maybe I'm a homer, but it's that storyline got me back big time into wrestling.
He's been able to do it, 2 times and within 2 different promotions. So it's a phenomenal, template for people who are coming up or coming out.
Yeah. Well, let's get started with the draft real quick. I just want to, I know we have some of our buddies that aren't wrestling fans that don't understand what stable wars means or what a stable is. So I did make a little graphic for everybody. I stole this definition from literally I just wrote what's a stable into Google, and it was a pretty good definition. So stable is a group of wrestlers within a promotion who have a common element, friendships, either real or storyline, a common manager, and a common storyline would put them together as a unit. So essentially you're a gang. It's a group of dudes that have a common goal. So, and then we did have some rules for this draft. So we're doing 5 rounds. And then let me make that a little bigger. So each stable must consist of you have your main, your leader, your main event guy, and then another singles wrestler that would be like your secondary guy, a tag team. We're a little lenient on what constitutes a tag team, but you do have to define some type of connection if it's not an actual team that had been, together. A manager or a mouthpiece, valet, bodyguard, whatever you want to call it, and then 1 female singles competitor. So that's our rules, and we're sticking to them. So let me get the screen back up, and let's get started. CPG, you have the number 1 pick.
I do. I got the number 1 seed, and what I'm saying across pro wrestling as a whole, you guys cannot get better if you're trying to get a foundation for a stable foundation for anything. My number 1 pick, Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle.
Wow. Whoa.
You suck. That's a good one.
Granted, I was not expecting that. It's a great pick. Explain your pick, please, because
yeah.
That was
my pick. My pick lays the foundation for what I want to look for in a stable. He gets everybody. He gets your technical wrestling fans from the book. He gets your American wrestling fans from the fact that they're at the Applebee's and they want to see more Americans.
And he won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck.
Exactly. He won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. Kurt Angle in his entire career has shown how he can do everything.
Yeah.
He is probably one of the best, gifted, collegiate to Olympic level athletes to ever make the transition.
He's probably one of the most legit badasses in the history of business as well.
Yeah. Nobody would mess with him. Nobody.
Bar none.
Maybe Haku.
Haku.
Maybe. Oh, shit.
Haku will just bite his nose off, but
Yeah, Haku has already probably taken a bite out of this draft.
Yeah.
But, Kurt Angle, he transcends he is legitimately the entire package. I hope that they're related because maybe you can teach everything you do. Can you imagine trying to run to third base and you're caught and you put an angle lock before you can get there?
I think Sam's more worried about him having that dump truck than he is anything.
I only know wrestlers from Adam Sandler movies.
Oh man, that was awesome. I was not expecting it. But that was
you know what, Kurt Angle. If you told me to make a match between 2 guys and it's just about the match, he would be part of that match. He could go. When he would run across the ring and jump onto the top rope and flip people, like when he did that to Kane in WrestleMania, boom, Fucking
Oh, yeah.
just unbelievable stuff. He paid for it. You know, we could go back to the topic of a wrestling drug draft.
Well,
and
yeah,
he would probably be a first round pick.
Angle.
I mean, he used to eat like 42 Vikes a day just to kind of function as a human being. So, he paid his price, but yeah, he is one of the most gifted professional wrestlers ever, and he was fucking great on the mic. Timing was perfect.
One thing about Angle that I will say, and we didn't mention it now because you're right, he can go.
Yeah,
He had cardio for days, strength, like unreal strength
freak,
for
man.
a guy's size.
Mhm.
The comedy that he can do,
Dude.
is unmatched. For
the milk
for,
truck.
like,
Yeah,
for somebody that came into wrestling late in his career, you know, like he had
Yeah.
a career all before he even came into wrestling, and the fact that he could get the timing right for, like, you know, like the cowboy hat with Austin and just a bunch of different comedy
and
gimmicks,
like all
that
the
he had.
sexual tension he had with Stephanie McMahon. Fucking phenomenal.
Underrated.
Oh,
Dude.
the sexual tension he had with Booker T's wife, Charmel.
Where Vince made him say bestiality sex,
Yeah.
not knowing what bestiality sex meant.
Absolutely.
Joey
Is that
P's
what
in the
Bologna's
comments.
doing after the show?
We're gonna talk about that later, but tune in. Joey P's in the comments saying the Cena rap battle. The Cena rap battle was awesome.
Yeah.
That was really good. What did you guys know that he almost went to ECW before WWE?
Yeah, I was about
Oh,
to bring
yeah.
that up. That he got mad because of the Raven.
Yeah, it was the
Sandman.
exact night they did the crucifixion. Yeah, in the ring with Raven and Tommy Dreamer, and he's like,
Sandman,
if my
Sandman.
name, what did he say? He's like, if my name shows up on this, I'm gonna sue your asses or something like that. Oh,
Yeah.
man. All right,
Yep.
Yump. What do we got for your pick here?
Man, that was a good pick, but
Yeah, bit of a rattlesnake there.
I'm gonna go with this one.
Give me a hell yeah!
I set you up, didn't I?
I said, give me a hell yeah!
Like, I couldn't go without picking Stone Cold as my number one pick if he was there for me. He was probably one of the most popular wrestler during his era. He made the most money, although he wasn't that. His technical skills kind of diminished a little bit since before,
Yeah, his knees and his
due to his neck
neck,
getting
yeah.
broken.
Yeah.
But dude drew crowds. Dude was great on the mic, and everybody did. He had a limited set of moves. He was like the '90s version of Hulk Hogan, just better. And the fucking crowds came out for him all the time. I think he's
and he
worth
did it by
$35
just
million.
being himself too. Like that
Yes.
was the cool thing. Like they ran out of ideas for him. They gave him that fucking ringmaster thing. They just ran out of ideas for him, and they just told him, "Be yourself." And he took it and he ran with it. And even though he could not perform most nights, he still went out there and did it because I don't know how, you know.
And if he was healthy today, like, I mean, even healthy, just imagine the matches he could have with the up and coming talent that were out there. Like, he was gone too soon.
Yeah. If he'd had, I mean, if they'd have bottled his ass up in that gimmick, 2 years earlier, they could have stretched that out. He could have had a run with Bret Hart to the point where Bret Hart would have said, "I'm not leaving. I'm sticking around with this fucking guy around here."
But even that short run with Bret Hart, that Iron Man match, like
Bret made it. Bret initially made him. I mean, and Bret's way to turn him from the heel in the situation to the face in that situation. Those two were magic together.
Yeah.
To have him not tap out at WrestleMania 13, bloodied and all that.
Yeah,
I was there.
That was a memory, man.
and,
That's
you know,
like a P1 memory.
Brett also said that he saw Steve coming before Steve did. Like, he wanted Vince to sign him right away because when he got fired, and it also like stuff that doesn't like get recognized is his shit in ECW with Monday Night NyQuil. Like, he just stupid like promos.
That was Steve being himself too.
Mhm.
Like that, and you have to give credit to Paul Heyman because I think he pulled him out of that shell a bit. And he was a great heel in WCW. He was a great heel. Like he could have carried that company with WCW, but you had Bill Watts, Jim Herd, and then you had Ole Anderson. They just didn't know what to do with him. And then by the time they were like, "Oh, this guy's phenomenal," Hogan was in there, and there was just no spot for him anymore.
The receding hairline didn't do him any justice in WCW.
Oh no.
Story old as time in professional wrestling.
As soon as he went bald, that was the right call.
One of my favorite lines, Shankster, is when he said, "If you want to know what I think about the Hitman, just put an S in front of his name." That was a pretty.
All right, Roxy agrees. I'm definitely the Stone Cold Steve Austin of White Sox Twitter. What? All right.
Okay with
I mean, if you notice, my name is what?
What?
So that have you ever heard the origin of that? It was
The
just the origin of what, like the Stone Cold thing.
Oh, the what
is
jam?
him just driving around with Edge and Christian, and Christian would talk to him like that. He would ask him like really quick, short questions and just go what, and that's how the whole what thing happened. Is he just started doing it one day on camera, and they're like, holy shit, this is amazing. So you can thank Edge and Christian for that one.
Can you imagine that? Like you're riding around and like maybe a trip out to Cincinnati or some other place, and the entire time you're like, "Hey, should we stop?" What?
Is it go to Waffle House?
I gotta use the bathroom. What?
Not annoying at all.
No. All right, Bologna Club. What do we got?
All right. I'm glad. I wasn't sure how this draft was going to start. My number one with a bullet, and a big reason I'm a wrestling fan, is I think he's the best voice in wrestling by far. And we could talk about tag teams being even, and even main event stars, the best world champions in the world. There's only one person that could lead a stable, and that's Bobby Heenan. I love Bobby Heenan. A big reason why I am a wrestling fan to this day is Bobby Heenan. Well, he was so good at what he does.
The manager in the first round.
First round, because he can talk better than anyone else. And I'm sure people are going to draft other managers. And there's one currently that I will not name, but he is pretty damn good. But there's no one like Bobby Heenan. The 92 Rumble is still my favorite pay-per-view, not because of what happened in ring, but because of
the whole Ric Flair thing, right?
Ric Flair thing.
Oh my God, it's
Heenan
so good.
And stuff like that. Bobby Heenan is better at what he does than anyone else.
The
Weasel. I have him back here. I have him right back here. And
he's a Chicago boy.
And it's criminal that one of the only, figures is him in the Weasel suit, but I have it back there and I love him. So I was happy that fell to me. Was it a reach? Probably, but he's still my favorite wrestler, or not manager or anything. Voice in wrestling. He's my favorite by far.
Good one.
Bologna, I had him on my list if it would be my manager, and I thought nobody was going to take him.
Number one on everybody's list, I would assume.
So the way I figured it, and the way I was kind of game planning is like, we could talk about world champions, and there's 10 that can really go first round, or like there's a bunch of people. Tag teams are a dime a dozen, and we'll talk about them later. But the voice of a stable really has to go, and I think he's by far the best voice in wrestling.
In terms and in you ever watch the old episodes of Primetime Wrestling with him and Gorilla?
They're great.
In the studio, that shit's fucking like, he was so good that USA Network offered him a talk show.
Yeah,
it's like that's no how shit. Good. Yeah, but he didn't have time. Like they did a couple of pilots for him, and they thought it was freaking hilarious, but it just didn't work out. He just didn't have time to do it, and he wanted to stay on the road. He wanted to continue to manage, and he hurt his neck then. Fucking Ultimate Warrior. He did all his Weasel suit matches, and an Ultimate Warrior just stiffed the shit out of him. Like, come on, he's a fucking 50-year-old manager, But he was the voice of wrestling for my childhood for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Gorilla and Jesse, and I watched old Georgia Pro and all that shit with Gordon Soley. That guy's voice was phenomenal as well. But
so like in my head, when I think of watching wrestling as a kid, it's Gorilla Monsoon, it's Bobby Heenan, and it's Howard Finkel. Those are the guys that in my head, Finkel. That's what I think about.
Have you ever seen the video of Drew Gallows? Not Drew Gallows. It's Drew Gallows. Yeah, from the Good Brothers doing his impression of Howard Finkel.
Very good. Very
amazing.
Good. Yes.
Can you imagine if you got all services in life talk to you as Howard Finkel?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm in.
yeah. Like, we're so glad you're here at the DMV. I'm going to take care of you. My name is Howard Finkel.
Howard Finkel.
Yeah.
Howard was the man too. But like even Bologna Bobby Heenan, like the 1990 Survivor Series, like Roddy Piper is on that commentary team with him and Gorilla and Bobby, and it's fucking gold. Like
Piper was awesome.
they go, do the vocal fisticuffs, back and forth, and it's hilarious. And that's Bobby Heenan's like one of the best in terms of comedy. Could push the right buttons, like physical comedy when he could do it was great. And
then he's also a chicken shit heel. That's the best part. Is like he could really lead a stable of just sons of bitches.
Dude, when he turned Andre slapping him and saying, "I'm sorry," right away.
You would argue Bobby was just as important as Andre in that whole fucking thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Without him, Andre's heel turn wouldn't have been wouldn't have been anything, because I mean Andre could barely talk. So, yeah, he's from out of town though, so So,
anybody want a peanut?
all right. So you said the best voice in wrestling. Maybe outside of the ring. I'm going to go with the best voice inside the ring. He's also the most electrifying wrestler in sports entertainment. I'm going to go with The Rock.
Mr. Kennedy?
All right. Hard to argue that. Hard to argue.
Just like the way he went from being like Pineapple Head, Goody Two Shoes, like, oh, that's Rocky Johnson's kid. Like everybody's like, who the fuck is Rocky Johnson? You know what I mean? Like he walked
Rocky Maivia.
He walked in with that huge chip, and the fans just like, I'm not fucking eating this. Yeah. So he had to go back to work and figure it out. And how did he do it? By becoming a big piece of shit. Because that's what the Rock was initially, and it grew from there. And he's like Austin, he was himself in the ring a lot of that time, and his delivery was great. The way he played off of everybody as well, Foley, Austin, Kurt Angle, all of them. The way he played off of Triple H, Triple H.
Yeah, in the middle of the ring. I slept for a wipe.
It's not easy to do that, and he made it work, and he was solid in the ring. He wasn't great in the ring, but he was very solid, and a lot of us probably wish. Thank you. A lot of us wish his career probably was a little bit longer, but you're happy that he found something outside of the business.
Oh yeah, The Rock is number one pick. Is a fantastic pick for many reasons. Yeah. One is that in the ring at that time, in those first initial run, no one could step to him. Getting out of the Rocky Maivia thing, coming into being a mid-carder, right to the main eventer, everything there was laid out so well. Giving the Nation of Domination their gifts, and he gets Farouk and a poster of him as an Intercontinental champion.
Yeah, a framed poster. Yeah.
And you go back and you watch the table for three between the Godfather, Mark Henry, and Farouk, and Farouk and Ron Simmons are the same person for those watching at home. When they open their gifts from The Rock on table of three, they all get Rolexes except for Ron Simmons, who gets a signed headshot of The Rock. Can't go wrong with that. Like, that's kayfabe up to $1 million. Like, someone who definitely knows where they're at. And the best part about The Rock, though, is that as soon as he got that fame and he started doing the transition, just like, a lot of wrestlers do, but so few make it, humble the entire way.
And he hit Foley with the chair a little too hard.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Christ.
Little bit.
Really, a long list of people who hit Foley.
Yeah, but that was Royal Rumble, right? Yeah, I think it was Royal Rumble or Survivor Series, one of those two. He hit him so fucking hard, like 7 or 8 times, where you're like, how is this guy alive? Or I mean, just being conscious, period, was kind of remarkable. But yeah, and then he came back, and him and Cena had a couple of programs, and they, sold some tickets, made some pay-per-view money, and he stepped out. Maybe he'll step back in again. to show Roman Reigns a little something at some point. But
we can only hope.
I don't know.
Who's the real head of the table? Who is it?
Haku.
That's,
And toughness, yes.
Always the answer is Haku.
But all right, I'm gonna go with my next pick. I'm gonna actually get my tag team out of the way. I think I'm gonna piss Yumper off a little bit, and I'm gonna go with the Hart Foundation.
Oh,
That's a solid pick.
Solid pick.
I grew up. So when I was a kid, I collected wrestling action figures, which is funny because I still do today. But I collected those old, like the big rubber ones, you know, the LJNs.
Oh yeah.
And those were the only one I could never find. The Hart Foundation and Jake the Snake. I never was able to find my entire life. I found Jake the Snake when I was in like my 30s at a flea market. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking buy this, but I still to this point I never found Brett and the Anvil. And it always kind of like killed me that I had this huge crazy collection and I never found that one.
Those rotten bastards! Those rotten bastards!
He's gonna puke. But yeah, Hart Foundation. They had it's Yumper. They could
Ring deck, huh?
They could go with anybody. They had really good matches with the Killer Bees, obviously the British Bulldogs. They had a program with Demolition. They had, you know, just an amazing tag team.
Rockers.
The Rockers. That's the one I think of.
They had some good matches with the Rockers, with the Brain Busters, a little bit of everybody. The funny thing about them is they were put together because they didn't know what to do with either of them. They were going to put Bret Hart in this fucking cowboy gimmick where he's going to ride a horse. He was going to be Cowboy Bret Hart.
What to do with Bret Hart?
That's crazy.
Well, it was the 80s. They didn't care they didn't care about ring acumen at all. I mean,
yeah,
they went from Bruno to Backlund to Hogan. Backlund was good in the ring, but I mean, he had six moves and he roll with people. So it wasn't an entertaining style, but back then it was an entertaining style because all they were interested in was building these larger than life people. But yeah, I mean, Anvil could go, man. He was a big dude who can run, he looked like a rhino.
That Calgary Stampede wrestlers, man, they had a nice little wrestlers that came out of that. Just the Bulldogs, the Hearts. You had Jake the Snake spent time up there. Everybody kind of went through that territory. Yep. And like Bret Hart has said,
even like Piper and Andre and all those guys worked up there.
Yeah, even Hart has said that like being with teaming up with Jim made him a lot better because he could be a heel and he could talk shit to an old lady in the front row. They kind of got him out of his shell. Yeah,
and he was comfortable because it was his brother-in-law, and he it worked, and the whole gimmick itself, like the fact that they just like pieced it together and put it with Jimmy Hart and called it the Hart Foundation, Neidhart, Bret Hart, Jimmy Hart. I mean, it's
It's crazy that he married his sister and his name was Neidhart. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, very, very strange.
Even today,
Jim Neidhart, former LA Ram.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And even even today, Natty's been carrying the name for years now, and her entire run has been what you expect out of a Hart in a major wrestling promotion.
Do you mean Teddy Hart's not carrying the name?
Teddy Hart. Oh my god!
Just kidding.
So much talent.
The WWE just released Davey Boy's kid again for like the fourth time.
He's going back and forth though.
I think he's working major MLW now.
Yeah,
he was with them. I think he's with a promotion too that I don't know if Brett's involved with, but it's a Canadian promotion that I think his brothers might own that he's involved with. They just did like a match at the Calgary Hitmen's in the middle of the hockey stadium. They just had a match there.
That's a great comment.
Good job, Shankster.
Jenny.
But to CPG's point, I mean, Natty at the end of the day is going to be like a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the best female wrestlers ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like they fucked up her gimmick too. They had her like fart all the time. Remember that?
Yeah, that was a little weird.
It was so stupid.
A little weird. I mean, we could do a whole draft about bad gimmicks too.
Man,
definitely.
What's up, Johnny?
What's up, Johnny? All right. So I didn't set out to draft actual stable, if you will. But my first 2 picks on the board were Bobby Heenan, and my second one was Ric Flair. So I think I have to go Ric Flair, 60-time world champion. In my head, I want to draft people not only that can go in ring, but also on the mic. And he is.
And you also wanted someone with a helicopter penis as well.
Helicopter penis.
Yeah, you want to lift it off the ground by their own intuition.
But I mean, what can you say? It's 16-time world champion, limousine riding, jet flying. He is
dealing.
He is the guy. He's one of the Mount Rushmore of wrestlers.
He is.
And I'm happy. I'm happy he dropped. Obviously, we talked about the 92 Royal Rumble to start, and my draft looks like the 92 Rumble, but that was not on purpose. But I'm happy.
It's 2023, baby. You can't be that old these days.
I'm happy I got my first 2 picks. So that's crocodile or alligator shoes.
Have you seen his new commercials?
Oh yeah.
Which ones? He's got.
This ain't your normal boner pill.
Are you talking about Frank Thomas?
Yeah, it was eugenics. Yeah. But one of the best things about Ric Flair is that you'll have a promo from him that was my favorite one. The Space Mountain is also very good, but like
Space Mountain,
you're gonna have Ric Flair surrounded by like 250 hillbillies in the middle of Georgia, and he's gyrating and thrusting his hips in the air on top of his sports coat, talking about Space Mountain, talking about it's the oldest ride of the longest line. Man, especially if you watch the 30 for 30 on Ric Flair, which I recommend if you're a wrestling fan.
Really
it is an insight into the business, and it's also an insight into like someone being like, dude, the business sucks. I got to do it though.
Yep.
And the 30 for 30 on Ric Flair is probably one of the best watches I've ever had in an entire series. And I watched 30 for 30 when everyone else was watching The Last Dance. And they're like, are you watching The Last Dance? I'm like, no, I'm watching 30 for 30 on Ric Flair. And just watch it. Just go out there, find it. It's everywhere, I'm sure, at this point. Go watch it. It's good.
One of my favorite things to do, and I do it probably, like once every other month, but it's fairly common. The Ric Flair Jay Lethal thing, where they're going back and forth, is so goddamn
He's
funny.
throwing his shoes at him. Yeah,
it's so funny and
so good.
And that's another thing where it's like we talked about, like Kurt Angle having that comedy gimmick. Ric Flair didn't have to be funny because he's Ric Flair, but he can do that as well. And the Jay Lethal thing, I love it. If you guys haven't seen it, if you're not even a wrestling fan, just YouTube Ric Flair Jay Lethal. It's about 9 minutes long, and it's the most ridiculous yet funny thing you could see.
It really
is. I love it.
Jay Lethal is very talented at mimicking.
When they're just he's done it twice with 2 different gimmicks, but he's very good at it.
The 2 of them together, especially during the Ric Flair stuff, is that there are parts of that promo where I don't, or that interaction where I don't think that Rick knew it was coming. And every single thing that he was able to throw at Jay Lethal threw it back at him on the fly.
Yep.
They were literally throwing shoes at each other.
Yeah. And that Ric Flair was like, what the fuck do I have to do? And then he's just waiting in the wings the entire time.
I love it.
So one of my favorite matches of all time, I think it's a star. Yeah, I'm almost certain it's a Starcade. It's when Flair came back and he went up against Vader. And him and Vader in the ring together, you would think was going to be kind of a nightmare. They made it work so well. Like, he stiffed the shit out of Flair. Like, Flair had welts and bruises and black eye, and he's like screaming for his mom in the middle of the match because Vader's like just chopping the shit out of him. And then he wins with like a simple roll up, But that's the only way he can win. Like, how is this little old man's going to beat this 500-pound, 440-pound monster who, by the way, biggest dude I've ever seen live was Vader. Just a massive human being. But yeah, so like Flair could go with anybody. His matches with Steamboat obviously are legendary, and then Savage, he had some really good matches with. Even his match with Hogan, when Hogan went to WCW, that first one, with like Shaq and Mr. T at ringside, that's a good ground match. Like
The Hogan one, the Shawn
Hogan
Michaels
prepared.
one.
Yeah.
I'm
That was
sorry,
good.
I love you.
Yeah, even when he's
that's a-
55 years old, he was
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
going, you know?
I'm sorry, I love you is like a memorable moment and a memorable GIF. People use it all the time on Twitter.
I used it last week.
Like for him, I think the Shawn Michaels one is the one that everybody goes to, but I think the Last Man Standing match with Triple H was a very good one that he had.
Yes.
That's one still showing that he can still go.
Mhm.
So honestly, like Flair, I understand like he's a great mouthpiece, but like he never thing in the ring was just never something I really liked about him because all he did was chop. And I'm like, why the hell is he
It was
chopping?
repetitive. He'd do the flip over the rope all the time, flip in the corner. And
The
he always
flop.
always
Flair
low
flop.
blow. Yeah, he'd always back. Well, and he stole that from like Buddy Rogers and
yeah,
like
Buddy-
one
well,
other dude.
What's his name? Buddy
from a lot
from
of people.
California. What's his name? I can't think of the top of my head, but he used to do it over the ring. But yeah, just stuff like
Harley
that.
Race did it too.
And it just never clicked with me. But I know why he was as great as he was because he could talk. He lived. He still lives the gimmick. I mean,
Yeah.
But dude's burned so many damn bridges. It's
Well, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah,
so that's
I-
that's why. But
It's Ric
lot
Flair,
of these-
baby.
A
I mean,
lot of
you
these
know.
guys are gonna be POSs.
I have a signed autograph picture to me by Ric Flair, which is up on the wall over there. And the day that I got it, 2 days later was the Dark Side of the Ring Plain Red from Hell episode, and everyone's like, "Do you still really like Ric Flair?" And I'm like, "Come on, guys."
It's tough. It's tough to justify a lot of your heroes. And,
Yeah,
and
he was
I talk
not
about that all the time.
nice to meet in person. But
It's
in terms of performance, it was good.
Yep. Okay, Yump.
Man, so I'm kind of torn on who I should go. I guess I can go. So in terms of like my thinking here, I want somebody who's gonna be my mouthpiece, be with charisma. Like with Austin can draw people in. Because I really thought about like going with that way. So for my second round pick, I'm gonna go a little, outside the box here. And I'm gonna go RVD. Because RVD actually adds that high flyer element. He could go in the ring. He's never really had really bad injuries in terms of besides when he broke his ankle, but he's pretty durable. He could talk if you need him to talk, and he could be kind of that second in command behind Steve. And he was awesome as the ECW TV champion. I know he's been world champion before, but like I've known him from ECW.
Yeah, his
TV
stuff with
champion.
like Jerry Lynn and all. Yeah,
like those
that was
matches
what I
were
remember
awesome.
too.
With Too Cold Scorpio, just those matches. I remember, or when they would just basically chain wrestle for the first 10 minutes of the match, go back and forth, and then stop in the middle of the ring and pose. It was just, and he also just cracked me up because he talks so much shit too.
He was so unique and original in the ring that he would botch a match like 5 or 6 times every time, but nobody gave a shit because what he tried to do was fucking cool.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the few guys that can get away with that, and he totally did.
Definitely a guy who can get away with a lot in no matter what promotion he was in. I mean, even in his appearances in other companies and stuff, when he showed up, they're like, "Oh shit, Rob Van Dam's here." With the exception of probably his last run, WWE was a little much. It didn't really translate to a lot of great stuff. But man, that dude is like, if I smoke weed every day, I'm not getting out of bed.
Smoke weed every day.
Yeah, but that dude is like gets out of bed, smokes weed, eats a 5-star breakfast, goes to the gym, smokes weed, tackles a brisket, smokes weed, works out, smokes weed, puts on a phenomenal show. I don't know how you do it. I don't know what kind of strand of weed makes you be able to do that. I wish I had it because I probably wouldn't be the 300-pound monster I am now. But my God, Rob Van Dam.
I saw his wife at an indie show a handful of years back. Brandy and I went to, and it was the worst match I've ever seen in my life. They couldn't do anything. Like she was just there to like wear a low cut top and like bend over the ropes a few times.
Gyrate around.
Like they're trying to do like hip tosses and like they're gonna break. I was like watching. I'm like, one of these broads is gonna break their necks, man. This is bad. Like, this is not good.
Katie Forbes.
Yeah, it was Katie Forbes. Yep. But yeah, it's like there's no reason this poor girl should be in the ring at all. Like, I don't know. That's funny though.
Yeah, I mean, I love that pick, Yump. I think I remember
Fun pick.
we were in Orlando as a kid. I think it was like 95, 96, maybe 97, but I was in Florida and they had ECW late night. It was like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. And that was before they showed it in Chicago. This was probably like a year before it aired in Chicago. I didn't know what it was, and I thought it was awesome. And I remember watching Rob Van Dam and Sabu, and I was like, holy shit, this is completely different than anything else I have ever seen. And it wasn't until like a year later, or probably longer, I went to Anarchy Rules at the Odeum, and like I caught up with like all.
You went to that one, huh?
Stuff. Yeah, I was there.
I was at that one too. That's funny.
So, dude, Rob Van Dam, for as much as like, dude, ECW was a moment, and you know, you could talk about Taz, Sabu, Tommy Dreamer. Rob Van Dam was that guy. So it's a great pick.
Yeah. We could talk about ECW for hours and hours and hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So good. Okay, let's go next one. What do you got, CPG? You got two here.
So I'm for the first pick, I'm going my tag team as well. I'm going with American Alpha.
Ooh. I see what you're doing here.
A phenomenal tag team that unfortunately didn't get to shine too much on the main roster for main audiences because of injury.
Well, and Vince McMahon too.
Vince.
Yeah. Their work on the NXT roster on their way up was phenomenal. You had two guys that had not known each other 14 months before they started tagging, just gel and being able to really make things come together. And yes, they go really well with under the tutelage of Kurt Angle as your main eventer, as people that could really make waves. Just wave the flags for me, guys. Just wave them all, ironically, but wave them. This all works together. American Alpha, man, it was a talent gone too soon. Jason Jordan, still a producer for WWE to this day. But I didn't take Angle's son. I took Kurt Angle's son.
Kurt Angle's. that was a stupid storyline.
Well, the dumbest story ever.
They knew he was never coming back in the ring too, so they,
poor guy. But Jason Jordan was a really good talent gone way too soon, and it sucks to see things go that way. Chad Gable's had I liked Alpha Academy. I like where it's going now with the Maximum Male Models with Otis and all that. And the shoosh and all that. And you can see where the inklings of that translates, right? Because when they had Sam. When they had Sam's got it. He's in the chambers with all this shit. When they had Kurt interact with Chad Gable and the shoosh thing, I saw it. I was like, you could easily had a Kurt Angle do that 20 years ago, and it would have worked because that guy did everything they ever throw at him. The milk. Do you guys remember him and Brock Lesnar? When they were in their feud and they're drinking and Kurt's got a gallon of milk and they're both hitting on the same woman. And it's true. It's damn true and all that. I don't, man. That speaks to Kurt. But I think American Alpha in this type of scenario, you can't learn from anybody but the best.
Gable, I feel, is possibly the most underrated wrestler in the business right now.
Possibly, yeah.
I would pay a lot of money to see him and Zack Sabre Jr. in the ring together.
Yeah,
it will be freaking insane. Or even him and Danielson now.
Brian, I'll hug you over that. I'll hug you over that.
Come on, bud. Yeah, let's do it.
Bring it in. But that's 100% true. It's a guy that has really untapped potential just so far in his career. I think he can get there with the right person, but yeah.
Right on. Right. What do you got next? You're going to take the Iron Sheik now, aren't you?
No. After that, I'm going my. So we got our leader, we got our tag team. My mid card guy, I'm going Mr. Perfect.
Ooh, that's a good pick.
That was going to be my manager pick, actually. He was
I
going to
had
be
it
my
written down.
executive consultant.
The same thing Johnny said. I thought he was going Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I thought you were just going USA straight down.
No, I'm going Mr. Perfect just because, again, untapped potential.
Awesome.
Potential that never, probably one of the greatest wrestlers who never won the title.
Best heel I've probably ever.
Yeah.
And he was actually a pretty decent face, too, for a while there in WWE.
Oh, yeah. And the fantastic entrance music also in WWE. And just
the vignettes as well.
The vignettes were insane.
On the football, yeah.
I still think
the over the head basketball toss and all that shit. I think that for this the Mr. Perfect was the way to go, only because one of the greatest Intercontinental champions of all time, someone who's gone way too soon. Yeah.
Definitely.
And the untapped potential definitely could help. Could help American Alpha, could help Kurt Angle, God forbid. I just think it's someone that definitely carried the mid-title scene when he had it. He was the gatekeeper. That's who he was. And
could talk.
Could do the whole 9 yards. That's why he's my mid-card guy.
Have you ever seen any of his matches with Nick Bockwinkel in the AWA in the late 80s?
I have not, but
really good stuff. He was the baby face, and him and Bockwinkel were really good in the ring together.
And let's be honest, we've all done it. The gum and the towel, we all do it. I still do it. I do the gum. I'm coming out of the shower. I do the towel. That's iconic from Mr. Perfect. He's awesome. I love them.
My dad used to tell me stories about Kurt Hennig's dad, Larry the Axe. He was one of those guys who ripped phone books in half, just a freaking monster of a human being. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that Kurt Hennig's kid couldn't do anything.
Yeah, he's with the WWE now as an agent, isn't he?
Curtis Axel.
Yeah.
I
think his biggest thing was the Axel Mania.
Yeah, no, he had a good run during that. They tried to put him with Paul Heyman for the just he's a Paul Heyman guy type of thing, and it showed that with a Paul Heyman guy thing doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
Having his name derived from his predecessors, I think, is a great thing. But he has been a backstage presence, and then when they flood the ring with stooges to break people up during fights, he was there for a lot of those in the last couple of years. However, he had stopped the last couple of major pay-per-views. So the rumor is that either he's released, which is, hey, it's a business that happens, or he is working very closely with the Bray Wyatt storyline that's coming forward, because
Uncle
Bray
Howdy
is going to have, I think everyone kind of gets it at this point that Bo Dallas is Uncle Howdy.
Yeah.
But
and Curtis Axel is going to be cousin Duty.
Or he could be Huskus. Who knows? As these characters kind of roll forward, he might be one of those.
Yeah.
So maybe the in-ring days of Curtis Axel are over.
I think Kurt Angle and Mr. Perfect on the same team is fucking scary. Those are two of my favorite heels of all time. So good job there, man. Right on, Yump.
I can't believe this tag team fell this far.
The Ding Dongs?
No. I was gonna go with El Dandy, but
Who are you to doubt El Dandy?
But I'm going with the Outsiders.
What about his partner El Stanley Magnifico?
Oh man, or how about
hypnosis?
Where did you find that?
I'm going with the Outsiders. Basically, they jump-started the best era of wrestling in my childhood, and that's been trying to be recreated, ever since. With them invading WCW, they had two main eventers from WF come over, and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. both can talk on the mic. Scott can go more than Kevin, but Kevin played the big man very well. They
Yeah.
both can work in the ring. They both drew money, and through everything. Kevin eventually became a main eventer, but Scott kind of was in that secondary role. But both just awesome, in everything. They had like everything in terms of a tag team that you wanted. And I mean, there's no better two tag team to have when you're stable when I have Austin and Van Dam.
That was I'm wearing the shirt. That was literally going to be my next pick. That was going to be my next pick, and I'm pissed you took it. It's awesome.
It's a good one.
They changed the game. They changed the game.
I'm not trying to tear down the pick. I'm not trying to tear down what Young's got going here because it's entertaining. Is that the Outsiders worked though because it was two guys that were probably at that point like bona fide main eventers working as a tag team because they knew that's how they had to come in.
Yep.
Where if you look
but that's how the NWO worked. They were a bunch of fucking jackals. That's what they were.
It's the same reason why the main event mafia worked in TNA and all that sort of stuff too. Is that a true tag team has got to be two guys who just congeal together like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And to the a lot of that, the Outsiders may have been that. However, in my opinion, take me back. Give me the beef loaf. Take me back. That the only reason why those guys got over as hard as they did is because as individuals, oh man, it superseded the tag team at that point.
No.
I wouldn't necessarily say it did because
Kevin Nash, especially. I think Kevin Nash was on top of the WWE when it was at its absolute worst.
Yeah, as Diesel.
I think his run with the Outsiders and then his singles run when they went Wolfpack and all that shit, way better than anything he did in WWE.
I totally get what you're saying, CPG. But the reason I chose them because I was going to go with another tag team is because they're both really good friends with Austin. In real life, and I think that can gel in a stable to look what kind of content.
And they'll get high with Rob Van Dam.
And and they love Rob.
Yeah.
So and I'm going like if you look, I have like Austin who does the badass, in between, go between. You have Rob Van Dam who's just laid back, and then you have the Outsiders as your muscle. So
and then you also have Rob Van Dam getting stone cold high, and maybe that'll help mend his back and his neck and his knees.
But I totally get what you're saying. But I think when I think of the Outsiders, besides, I don't think of Kevin Nash as Diesel. I think of Kevin Nash as Kevin Nash. Scott Hall can go as Razor because Razor was so popular with WWF in the early 90s to mid 90s. But when you think of like big time, they really hit it big with the Outsiders. That's where they made their most money. That's where, Too Sweet is still used today.
I would say
powered off that as well.
I would say Hall's run in the WWE was better than his run in WCW, but Kevin Nash is the other way around. So it is kind of split.
Yeah, okay.
100%.
They were a hell of a tag team, though.
When I think of Scott Hall, I think of the ladder match with Shawn Michaels as Razor Ramon. When I think of Kevin Nash, I think of the Outsiders and the NWO and things like that.
Yeah. His run as champion as Diesel. The main reason it didn't work as well as it did is the opponents they put him up against. Like they had a whole program with him and fucking Mabel. I mean,
oh yeah, Mabel.
It didn't work.
They
didn't build him up. They didn't build him up as a superstar. They put him in the spot, and they put him in the spot to lose to Bret Hart. Ultimately, they just needed to get the belt off of Backlund, and that's exactly what they did.
His two best matches were against Hart and against the Undertaker. That was like the two biggest ones he had. He had a couple good ones with Bulldog too. Him and Bulldog worked really well together. This comment real quick about being the Russian from the Punisher. He was also Super Shredder. Kevin Nash was Super Shredder in Secret of the Ooze Ninja Turtles movie. Did you see why they had him do it and how they got him to do it?
No.
He was the original guy to be Super Shredder was the guy from Predator. The guy who played the Predator, and he was sick. He passed away, so they couldn't do it. And they went the Ninja Turtles team went to a wrestling event. I think he was in WCW at the time, and they were calling him over when he was walking out.
Vinny Vegas as Shredder,
and they called him out. They're like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And he's like, "Yeah." So he said he went to the hotel room and was there for like 5 hours as they made a mold of his face just to get to be in that movie. But yeah, he's also the Russian in John Wick as well.
And that is true. He almost killed the Undertaker too. He was
Yeah,
sneaky
man,
the most unsafe wrestler ever.
Big Daddy V.
Yeah, Big Daddy V. All right. Well, let's go. We're halfway home here. Bologna. Who you got next, bud?
I'm going tag team. And I feel like it's someone that can wrestle with anyone. You could tell me whatever style of match. Obviously, they were more famous for their hardcore matches.
Bushwhackers, right?
It's the Dudley Boys. I think whenever I think of tag team wrestling and like the big, like, you know, like main event matches, and well, we could talk about Edge and Christian, and I don't want to I'm giving away picks and stuff like that, but yeah, it's the Dudley Boys. I love the run both in ECW and in the WWE. I'm
envisioning them going.
I don't like them personally, and I think that might be like all of my
Bubba Ray's a dick. Yeah, for sure.
My whole run of wrestlers, it's mostly like a lot of my like sports heroes as well. They're just sons of bitches, but I can't deny what they did in the ring. And looking at like, I could have picked a couple different tag teams, but looking at Heenan, Flair, the Dudley Boys, they all fit like a mold of sons of bitches, if you will.
Especially if you use the ECW Dudley Boys. I mean, when they came into WWF, they were using like Bubba Ray had a fucking stutter, which is stupid because
he had that in ECW.
That was
but his ECW promos were so much better. Like
they were. Well, he worked with the crowd well. So the problem is the crowd didn't interact as well in the WWE. ECW, those guys were fucking screaming and swearing at each other. But the WWE, you really couldn't interact with the crowd, the capacity that they were able to in ECW.
Yeah. So the one of the reasons I picked them is because it's obvious by now. It's they work better as a heel. But I really like.
I'm envisioning. Right now, I'm envisioning like the music hits and the stable comes to the ring and the Dudley Boys are like in suits with Ric Flair.
Oh yeah,
suits and Rolexes and
and just have them be these guys, like kind of like when Triple H went Evolution. No one ever thought that was going to happen until Rolex turned him into a Rolex wearing, suit wearing. I think that like the Dudleys showing up being straight laced like that, man. What a moment that would have been.
That'd piss the crowd off. Yeah. That'd be a good heel moment.
Like sellouts, if you will.
You get the suits, but just keep the glasses.
Yes, that would work. Hey, you know what? I think I got some tape on here. I could take my glasses off.
All right. I got two here. Well, I'm going to go with my... So just so that the people who are listening and watching, I did not prepare for this at all. I've been such a wrestling nerd and kind of wrestling, it's like we're halfway through right now. We're at an hour and we could probably go for like 3 or 4 more hours talking about wrestling.
I thought about that when we were talking in the second round. We could go 4 hours. It could be a 4-hour show.
Right. So, I mean, like, that's why I didn't prepare. I'm going to go my next one. I'm going to go with my manager. He played a really good manager. He was also a very good singles wrestler. Was a tag team champion as well in WWE. Everybody's got a price for him, and he's the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. But he's going to be my manager in this group.
I like that. I like that a lot.
There's a reason behind it, and I'll explain it later. But yeah, the mouthpiece, he was phenomenal. Another guy though, like total jag off. But
manages the Steiners too.
Yeah, he managed the Steiners. He was basically a manager for the NWO as well. And then he had that run where he just kept bringing people in to get the Undertaker. He even brought the fake Undertaker. So
King Kong Bundy.
Bundy, Kama. Yeah, I mean he had. I think Mr. Hughes was part of that at one point. Mr. Hughes was always the most ridiculous wrestler ever because he never took his sunglasses off. He wrestled with his fucking sunglasses on all the time.
Oh man!
I think one of the esteemed members of the chat we're all in was like, if you guys are doing a draft and there's managers, how are you not taking Virgil #1 overall? And I was like, we're not doing that. I don't think anyone's picking Virgil. I'm confident. I'm not picking Virgil.
Well, did you pay $50 to get an autograph from wrestling legend Virgil?
Like I had to explain
Downtown Jones.
I explained to Roxy today who Virgil was, and it got to the point where it's like this guy thought that he was the focal point of a lot of stuff. And then when he didn't get inducted in the Hall of Fame on the year that he thought he would, he got on Twitter, went live, and his balls were hanging out of his shorts. That really happened.
So Sam, the funny part about your comment here is he's like a 6'7" black dude wearing he wore like a dress shirt and suspenders and like dress pants, and he wrestled with sunglasses on. It was bizarre. But okay, so my next pick, I'm gonna go ahead and get my second man in charge out of the way. He is quite possibly my favorite wrestler of all time. He is the cream of the crop. He is the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Freak out! Thank you. I'm going to snap into the Slim Jim and take Macho Man.
Nothing means nothing.
The cream rises to the top.
The amount of cocaine.
All of it.
Oh my God.
All of it.
My favorite Macho Man is Macho King when it was him and Sensational Sherry, and they're going up against Dusty and Sapphire. Those promos where the two of them are high as fucking kites.
How did they let Sapphire wrestle? She was like a 50-pound overweight woman with absolutely no training.
She was diabetic too.
It was all Dusty, I'm sure. I mean, it fit Dusty's character so well.
Sapphire, you get in the ring, baby.
Sam, me and my brother say that to each other all the time when we mess around. Bonesaw's ready.
Bonesaw's ready.
Bring me some playtime.
Yeah, every time Rox is like, hey, after dinner, everything goes well. Do you want to come back for a little bit? Like, oh yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And then immediately I'm thrusted into an Uber and I'm sent home. But one day it'll get there.
Macho Man is like my mom's favorite wrestler. Like, no shit. When we used to watch it, he's gone. She's just because of the way he talked. That's why she's like, oh, the Macho Man.
He could go with anybody. His promos, especially stuff that he did with Gene by himself, even when he didn't have Liz with him, like he was, man, that guy could talk.
Him and Liz getting back together, that was a fucking moment.
Yeah.
That was I remember that as a kid. Like,
him and Flair, but hit that program with him and Flair with the photoshopped at that point.
Yeah.
Things that people thought, because it wasn't photoshopped pictures. It was literally they took 2 shots because the technology didn't exist. And then you got Rick on the other side of that. You have her now, and I had her first. And then you have like fucking man, that entire God, I love Macho Man, and that entire.
Well, he had when he retired and then came back. When he retired and came back, the promo or the program that he had with Jake Roberts with the fucking Cobra.
Trust me.
And did you ever hear the story? Jake the Snake tell the story about the Cobra?
Yeah, when he's like, you gotta take the bite.
Yeah,
first.
you have to fight first. Yes.
Yeah, he didn't. Macho Man. So the people that don't know the story, Macho Man and Jake the Snake, we're gonna have an angle where Jake the Snake's snake, which was a cobra, was gonna bite Savage in the ring, and just it ended up freaking everybody out. But before it happened, Macho Man didn't trust Jake the Snake, so he made Jake the Snake take the fucking the snake out of the bag and have the snake bite him in the leg just to make sure that there was no venom in the snake. What a crazy bastard. He also was like horribly meticulous when like planning a match out, like an absolute lunatic. Like every single component of the match was mapped out, piece by piece. So he's just like a OCD crazy person.
All right. So question for you, Brian, because I saw like CPG's mid-card mid-card wrestler was perfect. Obviously have never won the world title. Macho Man had a hell of a run as the main guy. So what are we defining as like our second guy? Can it be anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I think Macho Man can go in that second spot because if you want to look at his WCW run, he was second to Hogan in the stable.
Yeah.
And he was second to Hogan in WWF. He had his run, but he was
Mega
always
Powers. He
Yeah.
also tagged with the Warrior, and he was kind of
Oh,
the
my
secondary
God.
guy.
Yeah, Jesus. Then
When
Warrior got fired.
Warrior wore the suspenders, basically.
All right, so I'm just asking because I'm game planning ahead
No,
of
that's
time.
fine.
I'm gonna take my female wrestler, and
Okay.
people are gonna call it nepotism, and people are gonna hate it. But for
It's your
my
wife,
stable,
isn't it?
my stable, I like how it's turning out. It's Charlotte Flair.
I was gonna take her.
I think when you look at like the 4 horsewomen, if you will, or the 4 women coming out of NXT that were the pillars of WWF wrestling for a while, whether you like it or not, Flair has had a hell of a career. And if you look at the stable, it makes sense for me to pick her, as I feel like she's the best heel of those 4.
I feel the look and her in-ring acumen is unmatched, I think, ever. So that alone, yes. I don't like the way they've booked her over the years.
Yeah,
but
and I don't think that's much of her fault as much as WWE.
No.
Yeah, you're right there.
But yeah,
She always should have. She should have had a mouthpiece for sure.
That
always should have had some type of manager, but she never did.
We talked about it. So Julie was in the wrestling early-ish. It was back when, like, and I don't want to give picks, but someone had a steampunk gimmick, and she really liked that steampunk gimmick.
Brandy did too.
Yeah, and so we talked about them, obviously being friends, and then obviously enemies.
Now not being friends.
Yeah, not being friends at all. But at the time, I was like, Flair would make sense to have a Bobby Heenan or a Ted DiBiase or someone that's currently in WWE that we haven't picked yet. But a mouthpiece would have been awesome for her.
I think with Charlotte Flair is that the lineage is there. She can obviously do the job. She's a phenomenal wrestler in ring.
Yep.
The problem is that did they fast track her to try to get to those 16 world championships?
Yeah.
And that's where the problem is that you should have broken those up over a 20-year career, not what did she in 6-7 year career? And she's knocking on the door. It's a lot. And when you see interviews with her, especially the Table for Three, where she's there, where like they bring up Reed and they bring up what it's like to be a Flair, and you can see where it is absolutely taxing on you as a performer to be that. And I'm not the biggest fan of her when she holds a championship that I don't think she should have had. But when you get her in a ring, especially with Bayley, with Sasha Banks, or Mercedes Moné for those watching at home, or Becky Lynch, man, the fluidity those 4 had. You're putting on a 4-star match in a high school gymnasium, if you want to put it there. It's the talent is there. It's just it's this unsurmountable like mountain you have to climb for her.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't easy for her to step in and take over that role. But the reason she had all those runs with the belt is because the volume of their roster isn't very heavy in terms of women. Instead it's 60, 70 men on the roster and 12 women. You know what I mean? Like,
and she's like old reliable, like when something doesn't work, they could just go back to Charlotte Flair for 6 months or 4 months or whatever.
Right.
And kind of
she's the transition while they build someone else.
Yeah.
I still think Asuka should have beat her at WrestleMania. That's just my opinion.
Absolutely should have, yes.
But
I also thought Rhea Ripley should have beaten her the first time.
Yes, but I think
for sure.
Yeah. I think just having a Flair name kind of hurts her in terms of, because I think I think her ring ethic, her work rate is good.
Unbelievable.
I don't think she's great on the mic, and that's something that is just bad because she's Ric Flair's kid. So that's one strike against her. I do think, and like I know he was talking about the 16 championship. I think like the issue with wrestling, at least when I was watching it, and even with Triple H became like a 14-time champion. Like they were giving people fucking title runs just to give them title runs, and that the belts kind of lost their meaning. Now, as you see, as they're going through more of a longer run with Roman, the belts are starting to mean something again, and that's something that they need to stay at, because just flipping the belt over and over, like that 16-time world champion just doesn't mean shit anymore.
Yeah,
like that was the big thing about Flair. Like when in the WCW, they called him out, the 16-time world champ. That was like a big thing. You heard that, even though Jerry Lawler won his title like 55 times, and but I'm saying like
good old USWA baby.
I think that hurts her in terms of that, but that's a great pick to have somebody that could go in the ring. You have the whole Flair thing going with her, and I found it hilarious that you said the steampunk gimmick, because that was my next pick.
Well,
And
yeah,
I wasn't.
I think CPG talked about it. I wasn't sure how we talk about picks that we haven't picked. Like I don't want to tip picks, so that's why I was saying steampunk.
Well, I had
like
two,
but it's hard to not talk about rivals and things like that without giving away picks.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna go with my pick with Becky Lynch, but I'm going with the man gimmick, because I think the way she dressed, will fit perfectly in my stable with the Outsiders, Van Dam, and Austin.
Yeah.
She could talk, she could go in the ring, she could draw money, she still draws money. She really evolved from. She was kind of, if you look at that WrestleMania when they had her, Sasha Banks, and Charlotte Flair, she was kind of like the odd person out, because you had Sasha Banks coming up, Charlotte Flair, of course, being Charlotte Flair, and she was like the low man. Now she's fucking on top.
I remember when they were doing like the press tour for that match. They had the women wrestling Barbie dolls that they were just coming out with.
Yeah.
And they had like a promo, like a picture of her standing there with Charlotte and Sasha, and they have their dolls, but Becky doesn't have a doll.
Yeah.
just like, okay. Like, it's a big deal. This is like a main, they main evented, right?
Yeah, they main evented.
It's a fucking main event. You're not going to build that up, all three of them? Like, that's fucking asinine.
And I love the fact she made something out of a gimmick.
Yes, Sam, she's still wrestling.
And the best part is she fought with Ric Flair over the man moniker.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she could talk on the mic. I just love the way she evolved as a wrestler, and that's all about wrestling. Like how you change yourself into something different, and like all our wrestlers that we've chosen have done that. Besides Flair, Flair's Flair, but everybody's kind of like transitioned to something different.
Flair's like that old guy. You're like, oh, okay, Grandpa, I'll drive you home.
Yes.
See, Sam does know wrestling. He knows who Becky Lynch is.
Wrestling business.
All right, CPG, your last two picks, pal.
Yeah, my last two picks. I'm also going to take my my female superstar. I'm taking Jordynne Grace. Ooh. I don't know if you guys have seen Impact Superstar Jordynne Grace. I don't know if you guys have seen her body transformation over the last 4 months.
Yes,
as she gets ready. To get ready for that bodybuilder competition she's doing. But oh my God, does she fit the absolute epitome of like being at your absolute physical limit as a human being, what you can do. That when she went from her her image and
and she was already like a built like a
she was a powerhouse.
Like a body. She was a bodybuilding, but now she's like a crazy power, like not even a power lifter. She's like a crazy like bodybuilding.
Yeah, and then she just shredded it off, and she is just it's an entirely different person. Gresham and her, their workout has to be insane, the two of them, because you can see it in both their physiques.
He's just cut like crazy too.
And she's there. They're working together on that. There's no way. They're married, but like
I'm pretty sure her body is crazier now than his.
Oh yeah. When I was thinking of female technical wrestlers, I was like, I didn't look at her initially because all I thought about was when she was with Scott Steiner in TNA, and I was like, no. And then when I watched her last couple matches, and when she went to back up Mickie James recently in Impact and accidentally spear her and stuff, I was like, I think this woman fits with my stable. I think this is, because she is just an absolute powerhouse. She kept all the strength, all of the being able to manhandle people with the weight to throw them around like she had before. But man, is that woman shredded to the gills?
Yeah, she's.
I could just hear CPG doing the Vince McMahon, the vascularity.
Yeah, yeah, the vascularity. You know,
Those rotten bastards!
yeah. Look at the biceps. Look at the girth. You know, that's Vince McMahon. I mean, when she showed up like that, I was like, this is the same person I've been watching for years.
Yeah, she made that transformation. She made that transformation in like 4 months. Like, what the hell? Like,
yeah, and then for TNA, that's overnight.
What kind of horse steroids is she taking?
Gresham. That's who it is. And then also for my fifth and final for this round, for the managers, this was hard, boys. It really was, because my first initial pick, I was like, I got it. You know, it's someone who could definitely help a stable like this. However, his ethics didn't align with everybody else, and that's one of the things that was so hard. But I think in both this stable being a good and a bad, someone who can absolutely kill it, ham it, kill it when they're good, and ham it when they're bad. The manager's got to be Paul Heyman.
Yeah, I thought for sure he was going to get drafted earlier, to tell you the truth. But yes,
you wouldn't have taken him. I was going to take him.
It has to be.
My first initial manager for this group, and it was, and Rox will vouch for me if you guys ask her, was that I was going to say William Regal, and not to give away future picks for anybody, but I'm saying William Regal was my manager until I realized, like, damn, as a manager, all he does is do underhanded tactics, and everybody in the list that I've picked in a fluid stable would never do that. Squeaky fucking clean, and if they're bad guys, they kill you. Squeaky clean.
You got a name for your stable?
I was gonna go with so I had American Dominance was what I went with, but I don't like that because of the state of the world today. I think just
that would be a great gimmick considering it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think submission machines, man. Everybody there can kill you. You know, I submission machines works well. I've been back and forth on a lot. I don't have a definitive answer as of right now, but this entire stable is just, they will outlast it. That, you know, call it that. Call it outlast, because they will outlast you in the ring. They will outlast you on the mic. They will outlast you in the parking lot if you try to attack. You know, they outlast everybody. They have the intestinal fortitude to take out the competition. There is not a more purebred, pure everything, just people who shred themselves. Paul Heyman, we know he's an exception to this rule, to take out the competition. But a guy like Paul Heyman,
bunch of perfect specimens, and then like porky ass Paul Heyman.
Exactly, because just like we've seen on WWE television lately, you know, Paul Heyman had a full neck brace, but the entire promo he's doing this. You know, that's what I wanted out of him. I think that I can get that out of him. That's why he's my pick for a manager.
Right on. All right, Yumper. Let's go with your
Oh man. So I had Paulie Dangerously as my pick before CPG took him. Yep. But I was actually gonna take somebody funny just to be funny, and I was gonna go with Joe Gertner. You guys know who he is?
Joe Gertner was, when I was a kid, I probably shouldn't have been reciting Joe Gertner lines, but we were all reciting Joe Gertner lines.
Yeah, but he was hilarious. But I'm gonna go old school on this one, and I think he fits perfectly with what I'm trying to go here. And I'm going Gary Hart.
Nice. Not a lot of people are gonna know Gary Hart.
From Chicago, always the man who walked around with a blade, was legit badass in real life.
Yep.
You know,
managed some crazy motherfuckers too.
Yes.
Abdullah the Butcher, Great Muda, Gino Hernandez, who ultimately, you know, was murdered. cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Totally.
Yeah, he was good, man. He very underrated. He was in his pinnacle was Japan and world class.
Yep. Like, and awesome mouthpiece, serious. He always wore the suit. And eventually, he started when he went bald. He had the white suit on. This like his look is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah,
and like I said, he
passed
carried
away
on
a
that.
few years ago, I believe.
I think it was like he had like almost 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, really? Okay, I thought
yeah,
it was a
he's
hit.
been gone for a while.
Okay.
But just you might not know him, but look up his stuff. Like he had a great book that came out too. That it's kind of hard to get.
Oh
now,
yeah, and
but...
he was the booker for World Class as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had a lot to do. If you ever want to watch a really good documentary, there's like a Death of the World Class. Can't remember. The WWE did a good one, but there's also an independent one that's really good, and they interview Gary Hart a lot in it.
Indie docs about WCW are always going to be a little bit better than WWE produced ones because their bias is one. Like if you look at like the hit piece they did on Ultimate Warrior, down the line, they definitely make themselves look a lot better than they actually were. Because like to this day, a lot of people don't know that during those Monday Night Wars in WCW, obviously coming from world class wrestling and all that, it almost wasn't a thing. Like 2 more weeks and WWF was gone. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know how close it got between those. But yeah, anything on WCCW, WCW, there's a rich history there, a rich history of really great competitors, really great talent, and who have shown up all over your TV screens in years.
Yep. Yeah, Austin started in World Class too.
Yep.
Yeah. Right on. That's a good one. I like that. I like that a lot, Yumper. Good job. You got a name?
No, I have a name. I'll say it after.
Okay.
He goes.
All
right. You can veto if you want. I'm still struggling on what you want the secondary, like mid card guy to be.
Who's gonna hold Ric Flair's jacket? Is it gonna be Hogan? That's fine.
No, I need guys that can
he said it already though. He said it.
Do it. I'd be stupid not. You guys know it. I have to go Punk if you guys let me do Punk. I wanna be able for my guys to talk on the mic, and I always thought Punk was better as a heel. All my guys are better as heels. And he's a big reason why I got back into wrestling. It could be a homer pick if you want, but yeah, I think what he did for the industry at the time where I started watching back wrestling, and then even his stupid ass run in AEW, which people hated, but I thought, when he came back at the United Center, that pop was unreal. And the pipe bomb and everything else. I just want people that not only can go in the ring, but can hold their own promo wise. That was basically my strategy. So it's Punk.
I think you knocked it out of the park with that though, because you already have Bobby Heenan. And when you have like watching Punk and Heyman together, neither one of them needed each other, but when they were together, oh my God. So you have a really good Sam. You have this matchup of two people who could really do a lot. CM Punk, the run in AEW was what it was. I'm pretty sure that it's done after this weekend. Done definitively, closed the book on it. He's done with wrestling again. But on the mic and being the second potato to Ric Flair, that's a good pick, man. That's in that scenario.
And then ultimately he'll take over the group.
The thing I thought about realistically, and it's because of Flair, and I'm looking at it right now, it could be another version of Evolution. Where Punk.
I just keep thinking like the Dudley Boys in suits.
That's the thing.
I love it.
So I wasn't sure about the tag team and how it could fit in with my, what I was trying to do. But realistically, it was probably going to be the Dudley Boys regardless. So, yeah.
Cool.
I don't know the name.
The Bologna
I've
Club,
got-
man.
I mean, Bologna Club does make sense. I think that's taken already. It's got to be something like The Voices, or just like, yeah, I'll go with that. Something like that. Bologna Club would be good, but no, let's go The Voices.
All right. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have noticed my picks, but there's all a theme there. Do you guys know what the theme is?
The.
Yes. The Rock is a third-generation superstar.
Ah.
Bret Hart is a second-generation superstar. Ted DiBiase is a second-generation superstar. The Macho Man, Randy Savage, is a second-generation superstar. So my final pick, I was gonna take Charlotte Flair, obviously. She'd have been perfect to round it out, but I'm gonna go off the grid a little bit. So I feel like women's wrestling is right now, this generation is probably the peak of, and I'm not saying it's gonna drop. I'm just saying this right now, we see better talent, better matches, better everything in women's wrestling. It's just not booked very properly on either in any of the businesses, in my opinion. But I'm going to go with someone who kind of started it off. I think she was one of the transitions from diva to what we see today. She's still in the ring. I haven't liked what I've seen from her since she's come back, but I'm going to go with Paige, another second generation superstar.
Okay.
She was just putting together bangers until she got hurt, man.
Yeah.
And I use the term bangers, little.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, and then we're called Bound by Blood.
That
Nice.
makes sense. I love it.
That's good. That's really good.
Like it's like an 80s movie about a gang in prison. No, that's Blood in, Blood Out. Excuse me.
Her
Paige-
run when she
Bye
came
Bye
out,
Otter.
the AJ Lee stuff, that was really, really good. And like you
And
said,
AJ Lee's another one that should get a lot of credit for being one of those people that transitioned, because she was fucking great in the ring too.
I
would even give the Bellas a little credit for that, because they could both go as well. But they moved from like pulling hair and just shaking them into the mat to actually being trained and good. And you got to give Triple H, you got to give Dusty Rhodes, you got to give a lot of credit to those guys to help create this generation that's been so good.
It was definitely Paige and AJ Lee in my book that what you said was transition from the divas to the women's revolution, if you will, that they call it. They held their own for a long time, and like you said, I'm not too great in AEW so far, but her run in WWE before it obviously injuries took their toll.
I don't think I've ever seen a promo just absolutely destroy someone's career as bad as I think it has. Yumper, I know you don't watch as much, but you should really check out the like second promo that Paige did when she came back. It's a clusterfuck of terrible.
It's bad.
And it's AEW's fault. They didn't fucking prepare her. But
she has that history too, because didn't she do the shit with Charlotte when she was trying to be like kind of like on edge and like break kayfabe? Didn't she do a thing with Charlotte Flair when she mentioned Reed?
No, it was Paige, Charlotte, and Becky was a tag team that she brought up with her when she came back. I think
but then she said something about Reed though, like that pissed a lot of people off. Was she was doing a promo
I don't remember that.
I can't remember if that was part of it when they split from her, but I remember them being close for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
But with Paige in general, especially in AEW, they fumbled that from the get go. And the problem, the thing that I never liked about Paige on the main roster for WWE, like you debut and you win the championship, that's great. However, your entire gimmick, your personality, what ran you as a character and as a wrestler was that you were an anti-diva. You weren't the status quo. You did, you dressed in bondage gear, or you had everything was black, nothing was bright colors. And then you debut and you win the What Divas Championship. And then after that, she adopted so much from AJ, the skipping to the ring, the more like colorful gear. It took away from what they established in NXT. And then as, things happen, unfortunately for her, and then, getting to the point where she's at AEW now, the things that she's doing in AEW right now are things that she complained about hurting her mental health in WWE when she was getting sprayed with spray tan by the Bellas. And she's doing,
You mentioned, I think you mentioned that on the playback.
playback,
We were talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And getting spray painted with an L by the Bella twins and Eva Marie, and she's doing the same thing in AEW. And I just, maybe she learns a little bit from Ronnie Radke a little bit, which sucks. Don't learn anything from him if kids are watching at home. But it is what it is. A good pick for what you're building, Brian. I admire the shit out of that after seeing it all come together, Bound by Blood. Paige has got, Soraya Paige, it's got to figure out some middle ground, and I don't think she knows how to do that.
Yeah.
Question. And I don't want to nitpick picks, but looking at what you said about being second generation wrestlers and you have the Hart Foundation there, would you not want to have Natty as opposed to Paige?
Thought about it. I like Paige better. We already talked about Natty. I don't have any problems with Natty, but
they're both
Paige,
Hall of Famers. They're not. I mean, they're.
I think Paige's peak was better. So
they're very important. Yeah, for sure. They're very important at their points of career and stuff. But I was just looking out oh yeah, that makes sense too.
It's identity at that point, right? Because Paige forged her own identity independent of her parents, because to most U.S. watching, no one knows who they are, and even if you are a UK watching outside,
her parents' promotion was small.
No one knows who they are. Yeah. Natty's entire personality and entire gimmick and entire push is based on being a Hart.
Yep. Yeah, I bet some people will watch or listen and go, Ted DiBiase wasn't a second generation, or Randy Savage wasn't a second generation.
Mike DiBiase, and
he died in the ring.
Yeah,
he had a heart attack and died in the ring.
The Miser was Macho Man's dad.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're a wrestling fan, Savage was the second generation.
Good old Angelo Poffo.
Yeah,
he was a mean looking dude.
Yeah.
So anybody that didn't get picked that you are kind of surprised?
Absolutely.
There's a million people.
I'll say the one thing that I kind of argued with myself. I fought over instead of the Hart Foundation. I was gonna take Los Guerreros.
Ooh.
I was thinking about taking Eddie as one of my picks too. I'm surprised LOD wasn't taken.
Yeah, that was my other plan, was to do like a muscle bound 80s freak group. It was gonna be like Warrior, Hogan. I was gonna be like Paul Ellering as the manager.
Oh, I love Paul Ellering.
That would have been awesome. Ellering was great.
Yeah.
For my stable name, I want it to be Broken Principles.
Nice.
So I without going to. If you want to, and you can if you want, or you just want to know who we didn't think make it, I think that each group, if you want to do a 6th round, you can cement all these groups. But unless you don't want to do that,
6th round, what would you pick? Is there just anything?
Anything, any person, any tag team, any whatever.
You guys want to do that?
I mean, I don't care.
I don't care either. I feel like it's gonna. Well, no, yeah, we could do whatever you want.
Yeah, I would say go with singles though, because I think tag team is kind of get into where the NWO just had everybody.
Oh no, it's got to be a wild round, because whenever a stable deviates from this, it's always wild. Whether it's another tag team, whether it's another single superstar, whether it's a big guy, whether it's however it is, and. Because having to sit down and pick from these categories, I got stumped on absolutely one category, and I got stumped on the managers. Managers is hard, but the number one category outside the managers that I got stumped on was tag teams. And if I had a 6th round pick, it would have been the world's greatest tag team, Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. to further back.
That's what I was kind of surprised when you took American Alpha, because I thought you were going to take those two.
So the reason why I took American Alpha was because I thought that someone was going to take World's Greatest Tag Team as their tag team number 1.
Yeah.
And I just like that. That's my 6th round pick to further solidify the group would have been those 2 guys, because those 2 guys in ring, not only as their careers unfolded, after the World's Greatest Tag Team broke up, is those guys taught everybody. Every single person you're watching on TV has had interaction with Shelton Benjamin or Charlie Haas at one point in their careers.
Yeah.
And look at even someone like Mia Yim. Mia Yim was trained by Shelton Benjamin. Like there are their fingerprints are on a lot of stuff. That was my 6th round pick if I had one, was that the World's Greatest Tag Team. And Outlast is unstoppable with the World's Greatest Tag Team and American Alpha coming up with them as younger talent. You win every day of the week.
Right on.
Was that going to be your pick, the World's Greatest Tag Team?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oh. You assume you 2 weren't going to pick that, so it's okay if we're out of order or anything like that.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
It's fine. That's fine. What? Yeah, we'll just go down the order. What do you want, Yumper?
So, if I was gonna go with I was gonna go with a main eventer that can fit in here, because he was kind of like he kind of kept evolving himself and kind of was back. But I was gonna go with a tag team. I was gonna go with Los Gringos Locos, which is like Eddie Guerrero and Art Barr as my tag team. But I'm gonna stick with Eddie, because I think Eddie just the way he transitioned himself into.
I love him.
When he actually got pushed into the LWO spot, like that's where he kind of took off, where he got better on the mic.
Well, yeah, because he got to be himself. Another one,
And,
a lot of these guys just be your fucking selves. You guys are, and Eddie Guerrero had been in the business for 20 years when he was 25. You know?
Yes, and he could kind of blend that line like between heel and babyface, and I think that like all the guys basically in my stable can do that as well, except Gary Hart. But I mean, Gary Hart is badass though.
I always loved when I got into got really into wrestling. The first big cry I had was Eddie when Eddie passed, because I was just entertained and enthralled with his entire everything that he was doing until he passed away. When his book came out, I read his book, and all that stuff. I loved the Los Gringos Locos gimmick that he had, because you got this guy who's like, if a Mexican wrestler was a word, that's what he looks like, and he comes out in the American flag draped like leather jackets with the tassels and all that shit. Oh my god, it's perfect. Like that Eddie Guerrero, which I'm sure we could talk at for hours.
Yep.
The best part about that stable, though, CBG, is not just them, but also they had Louis Spicoli as Madonna's boyfriend. That always cracks me up that they had him run that gimmick.
Spicoli was actually in consideration to be my manager. I fucking love Louis Spicoli, but when I went with this second generation idea, I was like, I had to scrap it.
I love Eddie. I love everything about Eddie, and I'm pissed I don't have him in my group because I didn't like. Yeah, I had a plan, and he just didn't fit. But like we talk about, like Kurt Angle, he could wrestle with the best of them. He could play the chicken shit heel. He played the comedy gimmick almost better than anyone. He was so damn good, and it just sucks that we lost him so early.
Too young.
Yeah. So yeah, I love Eddie. All right.
You ever seen any of the Punk Eddie Guerrero stuff when Eddie was out of WWE? That's fucking great. That was when Eddie was starting to get clean too. So
You remember when Eddie gave Big Show those special burritos, and he's in that stall and he's crying and screaming, and then he just comes in and kicks in the door stall, and he's like, "I'm sorry." Oh! He's like he literally can't get into the ring because he's shitting himself. Just,
and just the comedy too, like the everybody talks about when he went against Mr. Anderson, just with the chair gimmick, slamming the chair on the floor and then falling on the floor, tossing the chair to him and then falling on the floor like he got hit. Just the comedy with him. He was like a great mind, and like at 38, he was just so young to pass away.
The stuff with China was really good too.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Latino Heat.
Being too sick to compete.
I should have worn my. I got a Latino Heat shirt.
Being too sick to compete, and he's got like a blanket on himself in the corner, and he's like coughing, and
it's so good, so good.
But it's
are you ready?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you guys want to share Eddie Guerrero?
There's no. That was a great pick. He got it. There's so many ways I want to go about this. I really do want to do something. I thought about another mid 2000s, but I'm gonna go with the future, and I'm going with the voice, and he's the voice of the future, and he just fits in so well. I'm going MJF. I think he would fit in so well with this.
That's
stable.
Perfect. That's perfect.
He would be the young guy that this heel stable is grooming to be the young guy.
Bologna just fucking solidified his stable. I should never ask for another fucking round.
So you got CM Punk as like the guy that wants to be the leader, and then MJF would be like the young boy in the group.
A young boy, yes, that's exactly how I'm picturing it. It's almost like a version of Evolution, if you will.
Yeah,
I might be stealing Evolution's gimmick in this.
It actually is because
that's what
he would be the Batista basically, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like it.
So MJF could talk with the best of them. He's such short career so far, but he's impressed, I would say, all of us in that short time. And he's the future of professional wrestling. So I think he fits in well with this.
Right on. Well, I'm gonna go. So I was initially, this whole time you guys were talking, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna take Terry Funk. Like Terry Funk would be perfect.
Hell yeah.
I got a guy that would go out there and just beat the shit out of people. But I'm not.
Wild card. Sixth round is the wild card.
Well, and that's another. That's another second generation wrestler. So, people don't know much about Dory Funk because he wrestled in like the 40s. I am gonna go with the guy that's gonna finish Roman's reign.
I love him. I love Cody. I love everything about Cody.
It's a great pick.
Cody's just fun. He, at AEW, I don't know what to think about his run with AEW. Like it made him a star, and then change your stable name to Mike.
Can I do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it too late, Johnny? Good call.
But yeah, I want Cody. I'm gonna go Cody Rhodes. He would be like the young boy of the group as well.
He totally was, Johnny. He was one of the bouncers.
Roadhouse.
Yeah.
He was also in Over the Top.
We don't need you here, Dad. And he also, like I told Bologna in our Rocky episode, he was actually the fight choreographer for Rocky 5.
Yes, the street fights and stuff, right?
One more round, Yumper. One more round.
Yep.
Touch me and I'll sue.
Cody Rhodes from Go.
That sound like someone, Yumper?
Yes, it does.
Right.
Cody Rhodes is one of these these a lot of people jump on him. A lot of fans jumped on him because he left WWE and he went and he made this company that's derivative of all that and whatever, and he did the whole throne crushing thing. And now he's with it being in WWE, they're eating everything he throws at him. I mean, the character that he was trying to play in WWE or AEW rather, amongst a bunch of people doing like edgy gimmicks, because there are edgy gimmicks there. Like that's how AEW kind of functions.
Yeah.
To try to be what he was in AEW, and it didn't get over. And like even the stuff that Roman said to him on Monday, which if you guys haven't seen that yet, go watch it. It's fantastic. It's, it didn't get him over, but when you put Cody Rhodes back into the WWE system, holy shit, does it work?
Yeah.
Because now he's giving the weight belt away at ringside. It's not getting thrown back in the ring like it did here in Chicago. It's people are invested in this, not only because he is that face, but until this last promo, everyone knows now who Dusty Rhodes is. If you're 5 years old, you know who Dusty Rhodes is because he made sure that you knew.
He did dine with kings and queens. He also dined on pork and beans. So,
if anyone asks me who Dusty Rhodes is, I always point them to the vignette of him pumping gas and changing that woman's oil in her car. It is by far one of the best vignettes I've ever seen in my life.
That is our buddy Aloha Mr. Hand's favorite wrestler.
Dusty Rhodes. I can see.
Whenever we talk about wrestling, he always brings up Dusty Rhodes.
Mr. Hand, baby.
So yeah, like Cody is a fantastic pick and definitely fits with everything that's going on here. So I definitely like that.
He's been telling a story. He's been telling a story for the last 4 or 5 years that, I mean, when you piece it together, is something that like hasn't been seen before. And I feel like AEW fans were too like blinded to really appreciate what he was trying to do. And a lot of it had to do, we talked about on the playback, the fact that they made that stipulation where he could never win the world title. I thought that was a short-sighted vision that ultimately pushed him back into WWE, whether he wanted to or not.
I'm sure. I don't think Cody and AEW did anything that he didn't want to do. I think Tony Khan told him, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to do, Cody. You want that belt? Go get it. That's fine.
Yeah, I believe that. But when you look at the overall narrative that he's pushing now, that back then it's a short-sighted stipulation to have him never be able to win the world title. But if you look at his story now, that stipulation means everything.
So that's what I'm saying.
He went over there and he wasn't able to win the world championship because of a stipulation. So he comes back home to win the world title because he can't do it anywhere else.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, where it was like he's been telling a story for 4 or 5 years.
I think just from him not wanting to win the world title, that stipulation, I think that was just his way of saying, I can go somewhere else, be big, and not have to have a title around my waist. That was his whole thing with Triple H. And that's the reason he broke the fucking throne in the first place, was because of his creative and how the way they were holding him back, because he thought he was a main eventer. And if you look at just even the way his career has gone, he's basically went about the Vince McMahon model of taking the brass ring somewhere else. He went somewhere else, made money. It's a multi-million-dollar company. He made himself bigger than life as the American Nightmare, and now he's back in WWF, as a homecoming. And
I would even argue, like, he created that character, that persona, everything, and built it up before AEW even started. When he was
because he was doing
on the indies.
He was in Mexico too. He was doing
just hustling, just running, man. That's what he did. And I think kind of on a smaller level, I think that's what Cardona's doing now.
Yeah.
I hope that guy succeeds. I love Matt Cardona.
He's succeeded already. I don't think there's anything he needs to do anymore. He's going back though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Suppose that's
yeah.
They better give him a dickload of money and let him do his fucking toy videos.
The cool things I've heard about Cardona is that, so I've heard 2 scenarios, right? Cena wins at WrestleMania, beats Austin Theory, and then on the Raw after Mania, he does the open challenge and it's answered by Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona goes through the match squeaky clean until Chelsea helps him win. He goes heel, and then he wins the title off of Cena the night after WrestleMania.
That's fun.
The inverse of that is Theory wins. He does the same thing to mock Cena, and then Braun Breaker debuts to take the title off him, which I think is more likely. But Cardona's got a place in the locker room. You know he does, and you know that the moment that he comes back to WWE, he's not Zack Ryder. If they put that name on him again, I'd be very surprised, because for the last 3-4 years now, Cardona is just it's in everyone's mouth. Whether it's GCW, whether it's any of the other indie promotions, he's everywhere.
And he had to reinvent himself twice.
Yeah.
With Zack Ryder, he built himself as the internet king.
Yeah, he created his he built his character.
He knows
before
how to market
WWE.
himself. He knows
Yeah.
how to market
Smart dude.
himself without like the backing of a company, which is what he's been doing his whole career, which is awesome.
Yeah. So I saw someone ask a question just real quick before I think it was Caitlin asked who's the wrestler we hate the most.
Ever?
Just real quick before we wrap up. Sure. Before we wrap up, if somebody just wants to mention that.
Like real life, or you mean like in storyline?
That's fine.
Which Johnny said Ryback. That's a proud.
Ryback's a good pick,
Yeah.
man. That guy's a fucking scumbag.
He's an asshole.
I mean, if we're talking about like the worst person ever, I would go with Nails.
Because he choked Vince.
And then he accused Vince of raping him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a crazy bastard.
Good question.
Then he went to the WCW as in the same gimmick, and he was like, they called him like the informant or something. No, I'm sorry, he was like the criminal or something like that.
Oh, are we going in wrestling or competitors? Like people who were, I mean, everyone who is in.
Let's say worst person ever in the history of wrestling.
Wow,
that's open up a can of worms.
It's got to be Benoit, right?
You DM.
Yeah, which we shouldn't say that because
about.
now the entire YouTube algorithm will not push our video.
There's also the guy from WCW, Hardbody Harrison, who was like fucking sex trafficking people. Like,
or you can go rock and roll Buck Zumhoff, who was a child molester.
All right.
Yeah,
all right.
We're off the rails.
What are we
in terms of wrestling, somebody that I really dislike, especially as I got more to learn about him, is Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not it's just the fact that the shit that he pulled with his creative control, and then goes on like it says, "Oh, I never had." Like the stuff with Macho Man, to the point where Ultimate Warrior had to make a video to call him out and say like your relationship was all bullshit.
You know what's funny about Hogan though? Like Hogan, if you talk to anybody that he worked with in the 80s and 90s, with the exception of like Warrior, pretty much, they're all like, "Yeah, he made me a lot of money. I'm not going to say anything."
Yeah, which is fine.
Like it's just like
he made everyone.
Yeah, like they like he made sure like I watched a shoot interview with King Kong Bundy. He made sure King Kong Bundy got like $50K for WrestleMania 2. Like he made sure he got a million, but he made sure these guys got everything that they wanted out of those matches. And
he can also do this for you too, Brian.
Well, I could set you up with Hiro Matsuda, this Japanese guy.
I'm gonna get off by cranking your knob.
The way that Hogan, the thing that sucks with Hogan is that Hogan defines an entire generation of wrestling.
Two,
but
you can even say
two. Absolutely,
you can say two generations.
You're dead right. Dead right. Yeah. Two eras of wrestling, and the thing that I don't like when the other obvious stuff that makes him an unsavory individual is like, "Oh, brother, that tombstone pile driver really got my neck." I'm like, "No, it didn't. Shut up."
The lies are fun. Those are fun though. There's
the Hulk Hogan lying. Oh,
dude.
There's Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Just like the lies, like you're saying, that Kevin Sullivan used to have a pod called "A Hell of a Deal."
Yeah,
he talks about how Hogan would switch shit all the time in WCW, all the time, and the fact that they had this long buildup of Sting finally beating him, and he wanted to make it look like it wasn't clean, just to be an asshole. When he told Nick Patrick to do that, to just count it regular, and it made it made Bret Hart coming out look like an idiot for one. It made it look so stupid on like your biggest pay-per-view, just because you didn't want to lose clean. Like how fucking full of shit are you to do that? You know what I mean? Like, come on, like you were still gonna make money.
My favorite Hogan story was something I heard on the Jim Cornette, which I fucking hate, but I listened to Jim Cornette podcast one day when they were talking about Hogan stories.
Hate listening.
And he used to tell people that Hulk Hogan used to tell people that Elvis Presley told him that he was his favorite wrestler, which is funny because Elvis died like a year before Hulk Hogan debuted. So
yeah,
I think that one is good, and the that he wrestled 24 hours straight, and it was like or it wasn't 24 hours straight.
He also said that he broke his spine slamming Andre the Giant.
I can't remember what was the quote for it was either he wrestled 24 hours and it was something about like time zones that man, what was it? It was basically that like Hogan, that's not, oh no, it was he wrestled in 2 continents in the same day. And it's like that's not possible because of time zones, and also you were in a plane for half of those.
Dude, you can look at the lies that on the website. Like one of them says he got a Make-A-Wish kid to a show he wasn't on. Like he was with Kerry Von Erich a few days before he died. Like
no
stupid shit. Like shut up.
I think Kerry was in jail a few days before he died. But okay, we're at 2 hours, so we gotta cut this one out. And also, Bologna has a video to make, so
yeah, I do. Shit, I forgot about that.
Shit, she's been waiting upstairs for hours. So yeah, Are we gonna have Jim Ross commentate?
I might have to. Yeah, I might have to have. Some.
Oh God!
In the middle, you're like, "This is a slobber knocker."
By God!
Broken in half.
By God! He's broken her in half. By God!
Oh God!
Stomping a mud hole, walking it dry.
Austin, Bologna.
Oh my Lord! Okay. Anybody got anything they want to plug here? Bologna, Yump.
CBG has his show Monday nights. I'm going to be on Monday, 6 p.m. on Twitch.
I'm the Punk Driver.
Yeah, the Monday Night Punk Driver is being invaded by the Bologna Club on Monday night from 6 to 7 p.m. over on twitch.tv/The Geeks and Noobs. If any of you guys know Bologna, you know he knows wrestling at this point, and we are going to be talking everything WrestleMania leading up to that, and then stick with us for a bit. We're going to be watching Raw the entire night.
It's a good show, guys. You should check it out if you're into wrestling. They basically watch Raw together and comment on it, and really good banter, really good show. You do a good job with that one, CPG.
Thank you.
And then Whiskey at Comiskey. You guys want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, Whiskey at Comiskey opening day. You
Home
guys are helping us out. Home opener for the White Sox. Sadistic Penguin Studio is providing beers. We'll be there cooking and bringing whiskey. We're going to bring some Knob Creek products. Hopefully we get some merch that we'll be giving away. That is hopefully gets here in time because it's in transit. We'll be talking about all of that Monday night on the podcast. We have a lot of details to hammer out. A lot of details.
Are you going to mention the food menu for?
I'll talk to Jason. He's planning a whole thing, so it's going to be awesome.
You're not going to bring a pig, are you?
We will not be bringing a pig.
Wouldn't that be fucking awesome though? If we could bring
that would be Lot B roasting a pig or a goat.
I mean,
goats.
They're barely
roasting a goat.
Get some.
Are we all Greek?
Get some Serbians in there, man. Call the mafia. Let's fucking do that.
I'd be down for some birria in Lot B. Lot B stands for birria, but they're barely letting us bring tables. So you think they're gonna let us bring a
spit roast?
So,
yeah, that's gonna be a fun time.
So so we'll have more details Monday night 9 p.m. on the Bumpcast.
Cool.
So I got one thing to plug, Bri.
Yep, you're on Sunday, right?
Yep. So Sunday, Swole and I have decided to go weekly. We're gonna try that out. This Sunday we're doing 80s cult movies. 5 from Swole, 5 from myself. We're gonna be starting at 7:00 on the Sadistic Penguin Studios YouTube channel.
Sweet. And don't forget to subscribe to this Sadistic Penguin Studios YouTube channel. Also, make sure to like this show. I'm going to be on next week again. I'm going to have a couple buddies on, Bennett Carroll, as well as our buddy John Shakespeare. We're going to be drafting. It's the night before WrestleMania, so we're going to do another wrestling one. We're going to draft our favorite WrestleMania matches of all time. So that should be a good one. I believe in the next couple of days, I'm going to get another pop-up socks out. I will be announcing that a little further tomorrow. Guests to be decided, I guess, because it's called pop-up socks. So we'll we'll move as we go. But yeah, again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This is it's getting drafty in here. Episode 13 in the books. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you as always. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.